So this video is a summary of my second week of training for the Geneva Marathon, which is in May. So on Monday I just took a total rest day and didn't run at all, didn't do any cross training either. It was just a chance to recover from a longer session that I had on the Sunday before, which you can find out more about in my previous video. In my current marathon plan, I'm planning to take at least one rest day every 2 weeks. So for this week, that was the day that I chose. Then moving on to Tuesday, and I did a double day on Tuesday, so it was two kind of easier sessions. The first one was just 11 kilometers at an easy effort level, so building up kind of the aerobic base here with a nice easy run, but not putting too much strain on the body. Then later on in the evening, I wanted to do a little bit of hill work. I'm not kind of in a place where I want to do hill sprints just yet. Recovering from a hip injury, I'm just kind of not ready to, I suppose, bring in hill sprints, and the marathon itself doesn't really have hills, so it's not too kind of urgent for me to do them, although it is one of the best ways to improve your fitness. But yeah, for this session in the afternoon on the Tuesday, I kind of ran 4 kilometers as a bit of a warm up, but also to get me to the hill that I was looking at. I did 3 different reps on this hill. So the first one was kind of 2 kilometers uphill continuously, and then 2 by 1.5 kilometers up kind of a different part of the hill. So there are kind of different gradients, but overall I was kind of gaining around 200 meters by doing these hill reps, and I also did a 400 meter kind of hill rep on the way home. So it was a shorter one, a little bit steeper, but yeah, I just kind of took that a little bit faster. As opposed to doing hill sprints on these, I kind of wanted to take them at a bit of a more of a steady pace, just to see if I could sort of maintain my pace as a continuous climb. So for each of the reps, for the 2 kilometer one, it was 4:17 per kilometer. For the 1.5 ones, it was 4:12 and then 4:09 per kilometer. And then for the 400 meter hill, it was 3:59 per kilometer. So I was going a little bit faster, just because it was a bit of a shorter hill. So I knew I could sustain it for the full 400 meters. So the idea of this session is going to be a massive kind of aerobic boost to my fitness. I'm not really working into speed work there, so it's kind of all aerobic work. The heart rate never got too kind of crazy high. And then on top of that, I'm just building up strength in the legs by doing hills. You know, it's working different muscles that I'm running on flat. And yeah, just a 30 kilometer day, basically a ton of fitness work in it, without beating up the legs too much. So I was able to go then for my kind of speed session the next day. So then moving on to Wednesday, and this was my speed session. I prefer to do my speed sessions outdoors, but there was crazy rain and wind, and I just had no interest really in doing it outside, so went to do this on the treadmill in the gym. The session was a 2 kilometer warm up, and then 2 by 20 minutes, and then 1 by 15 minutes. And the paces that I was setting were obviously a continuous pace on the treadmill, so it was 3:39 per kilometer. The reason that I've picked this pace, it's kind of in around my LT1 pace, my lactate threshold 1 pace, which is the lower end of threshold work. So because I was doing 20 minutes by 2 and then another 15 minutes, so that's 55 minutes of work. So just to make it sustainable, I was doing it at the slower end of threshold, but it's still going to massively bring the fitness forward, and obviously the speed work as well. So I'm running here at a faster pace than I plan to run for the marathon. So by doing that, I'm kind of making that marathon pace a little bit easier, and it'll also just make in general my easier paces feel easier. After doing these sessions, I also tend to notice that my heart rate is lower, kind of for the same effort level in my easier runs and even in future speed work. So this is something that I think these speed sessions really bring the fitness along, and they're really important to include in your marathon plan. So then moving on to Thursday's session, and this was again a double easy day, so 2 very easy sessions, both of them taking no more than an hour. So the first run I kind of did early in the morning, just under 12.5 kilometers, and that took an hour. And then later on in the evening did 10 kilometers, and that took about 48 minutes. So again, purely based on effort level, this not focused on heart rate. I'm only checking heart rate after the fact. But yeah, these 2 runs about 22.5 kilometers, just pure aerobic work, again to boost the fitness, but also keeping them nice and short so that the body's kind of able to recover in between, and especially after doing the speed session the night before, just to get the blood flowing through the legs, and get that recovery in. Because I also do a leg day on a Wednesday night after my speed session, So the legs are usually a bit tired on a Thursday. So the idea is just to get them kind of flushed out and get them ready again to do speed work on the Friday. So moving on to the Friday then, and this is another double day, but this time it's a double speed session day. So first off in the day, both these sessions were done on track, but the first one went out to the track, did 2 kilometer warm up, and then 3 by 11 minutes, again at that lactate threshold 1 kind of area. So these averaged out at exactly 340 per kilometer for each rep. So it's 33 minutes of threshold work. It's really good. Covered 3 kilometers in each of the reps, so that's 9 kilometers work. And the kind of consensus is, if you're maybe able to do kind of maybe 13 or more kilometers in one session of threshold work, you maybe don't need a second session. But if you're doing less than that, then you could always break it up into 2 sessions and be able to hit over that 13 kilometers overall. So that was kind of the idea here. So the first session I've covered 9 kilometers at threshold, but the lower end of threshold. So then came back later in the evening and I did a totally different session. So this is a VO2 max session. So this is really pushing kind of that top end speed. I took kind of inspiration from this from the Norwegian 4x4 workout. So basically what this is I did 2 kilometer warm up and then 4 by 4 minutes at my kind of rough VO2 max. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what pace I can sustain for that 4 minutes and do it for each of the 4 reps and be able to complete it without kind of falling off. It's my first time doing it, so I was kind of roughly gauging it, but I was quite happy with it. Went in between each of those 4 minutes, you get a 3 minute kind of recovery period. You have an option to walk that, jog it, whatever. I tend to prefer kind of jogging and do active recovery in between my reps. It's a very slow jog, but it's just to keep the legs moving. It kind of will help build your fitness a little bit as well, which is always good. But yeah, I just prefer to kind of keep moving rather than start walking and then have to start over again. So for the actual paces that I hit for these reps, so rep 1 was 319 per kilometer. So I covered 1.2 kilometers in the 4 minutes. Next one was 320 per kilometer, so again covering 1.2 kilometers. Same again for the final 2 reps. So pretty much all the reps were in line with each other, which showed that I was kind of doing a very sustainable effort. It was tough, but the fact that I was able to hit the paces each time is really good. You don't want to be falling off in any of the reps, and you don't want to be going crazy fast in just one particular rep either. So yeah, really good day for speed work. 2 really good sessions, both went exactly to plan. The track does make it easier than doing them kind of out on the roads. But yeah, it's just all about getting the legs used to that speed and the leg turnover. So yeah, I was really happy with these 2 sessions. So after a tough day on the Friday double speed session, the Saturday is a bit of an easier day. So in the morning I went out on the bike. I did kind of just under 2 hours. So I did just under 52 kilometers on the bike. Not really kind of pushing pace at all on this, just kind of cruising along and just out to the countryside, do a loop and back. This is purely just to build up my aerobic fitness. Getting out on the bike is a brilliant way to build up that fitness without really fatiguing the legs at all. You do use some muscles that you maybe don't use running, that kind of maybe the first few times out on the bike you may feel them. For the most part I find it doesn't really impact my running effect. It's just has a positive impact by building up that fitness and kind of just strengthening up the legs as well. So yeah, it's a really kind of low impact way to just add extra fitness on. Later on in the day I did a 9.5 kilometer kind of recovery run, again just to get the blood flowing in the legs. Will slightly build up the fitness, but that's kind of not the main purpose of this run. It's just a little bit of mileage, and yeah, adds to the recovery. The main kind of purpose of this Saturday whole day, I suppose, of workouts is to just make sure the legs are kind of keep ticking over, build up the fitness, but as well be in a good position for the Sunday long run, which is one of the more important runs of the week. That along the speed sessions are kind of the real key ones that I want to go well. The easy stuff may not always go perfectly, but if the sessions themselves are going well, that's kind of my main focus. So then on the Sunday, kind of the big long run of the week. So I did this as a steady pace session, which basically means I was kind of trying to hold, I suppose, a pace within 20 to 30 seconds of my marathonish pace. So I didn't really want to be going much slower, or well, any slower than 4:18 per kilometer at any point. But I didn't want to get up to, the 3:48 per kilometer either. I just kind of wanted to be in between that, in and around 20 seconds slower than that. But obviously when there's hills, winds, whatever, even traffic, you'll see in the video, sometimes a lot of people around, so I have to avoid them, maybe go a little bit slower. But yeah, this was a 30-kilometer run, and the idea of it is just to massively boost your fitness, get the time on the legs, and get the legs used to running distance, but without putting too much fatigue in. So by doing it a little bit slower than your marathon pace, you're building the ability to do that speed without really putting the kind of fatigue on the legs. So the speed sessions I've done earlier in the week are making kind of these paces feel relatively easy compared to what they might have been, a few weeks ago. This would have been a much tougher run a few weeks ago, but yeah, I'm seeing the fitness is moving forward a lot. Sometimes on the Sunday when I'm doing my runs, I'll be kind of doing sort of intervals. For example, last week I did 6k, then 5k, then 4k, then 3k, 2k and 1k reps at a certain speed. For this one, it's just a continuous steady pace, and that's why I call it steady. You might also call it tempo, but yeah, for me I call it steady. The idea is just get that continuous pace, and I suppose it also teaches you how to pace a run, by maintaining kind of the consistent pacing the whole way through. So this one all about the fitness, but it also is kind of building your abilities to actually pace yourself, and to control that pace. One thing that I wanted to look at this run kind of after the fact rather than during the run was how my heart rate would be. So if I had done this run maybe 2-3 weeks previous, I think my heart rate would have climbed up at least to the 170s, if not maybe into the low 180s, just with the kind of length of it. So I was out there for just over 2 hours, and that's kind of something that the body is only kind of getting back used to after the injury comeback and all the mileage that I've built up. So yeah, this one I wanted to see where the heart rate would be, and I was pretty happy with it. It actually stayed pretty much in the low 160s or high 150s for pretty much the entire run, which is pretty much exactly where I wanted to be for a steady run. So really happy with the heart rate. One other element that I added to this was that it was just kind of a mental thing to do. It's just for that last kind of kilometre or two, just to pick up the pace a little bit. For example, the last half kilometre was a 3:43 pace, so it's just picking up that pace to simulate, I suppose, a finish on tired legs, and can you kind of give a burst of a sprint, maybe just to try finish that few seconds faster. But yeah, overall really happy with this run, and the week in general. Pretty much everything went to plan. The only kind of negative part was that one of the speed sessions had to be indoors, but that's not a big deal at all. And for the week I covered just under 132 kilometers, which is pretty much exactly what I'm aiming to hit, in around 130 each week. So yeah, I was very happy with this one. I suppose the only other negative was after this one my hip was a little bit sore again, but it's something that I've been working on ever since, and it's been coping quite well. So yeah, pretty much near perfect week of training, and I can already feel in the runs that I've done this following week, that my fitness has kind of massively moved forward. So yeah, things are looking positive. Next week I'll be doing another one of these training videos, but probably beforehand you will see a race video from the Sheffield half marathon that I'm going to do this weekend, so hopefully that goes to plan, and yeah, hopefully that video will come for you early next week. But if you did enjoy watching this, thanks for watching to the end. Hope you did enjoy it and hope it was helpful, and that all the training makes sense and why I'm doing it. But if anything kind of doesn't make sense, let me know and I'll kind of try explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. But yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time.